In a recent video on this channel, I asked a big question. Could Lionel Messi actually win the World Cup? The response was overwhelming. Many fans jumped into the comments, insisting it was impossible, that Messi had already played his final game for Argentina. But here's the twist. This entire debate started because of a rumor. And no, I'm not talking about the one where Manchester United might finally sign a goalkeeper who can actually use his hands. I mean a very different rumor, the claim that Messi's most recent qualifier could be his last time ever wearing the Argentina shirt. So, is Messi really that close to walking away from the game for good? Or do we still have a few more magical years left, watching him light up the world's biggest stages? And if he does decide to hang up his boots, what would football even look like without him? To answer that, we need to rewind. It all began during the final stretch of the 2026 World Cup qualifiers. Argentina's last home match was against Venezuela, and that's where this entire retirement story started to take shape. Before we dive deeper, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. That way, you won't miss any of our upcoming deep dives into the beautiful game. Before that decisive game, Lionel Messi gave an interview at his club. He revealed something striking. He was going to approach that match as if it were the final World Cup qualifier of his career. When the national anthem played, cameras captured a visibly emotional Messi. It was as if he knew the weight of the moment. And after the final whistle, his words only fueled the speculation. In the post-match interview, Messi admitted what few expected him to say. Reaching the World Cup isn't guaranteed. I'm just trying to feel good and, above all, to be honest with myself. When I feel good, I enjoy it. But when I don't, honestly, I don't enjoy it. I'd rather not be there if I'm not at my best. We'll see. I haven't made a decision about the World Cup. That confession sent shockwaves across the football world. Many began to wonder, was Messi preparing to retire from international football with Argentina? Of course, no one doubted he would still appear in friendly matches over the coming months. But if this truly was his farewell, Messi would close his international career with 194 caps, surpassing legends like Sergio Ramos with Spain, Luka Modric with Croatia, and even the Japanese icon still competing into his 60s. But the question remains, why step away now with the North American World Cup just around the corner? The truth is painfully simple. Messi is approaching 40, a milestone that few elite athletes can overcome. And beyond that, what else is left for him to achieve? With Argentina, he's done it all. From Olympic gold in 2008, yes, that counts, to Copa America glory, and finally the World Cup itself. His story with the national team is complete. Brazil only managed to win their first Olympic gold medal in 2016. Argentina? Messi already had that back in 2008. Add to that 2 Copa America titles, the Finalissima against Italy, and, of course, the crown jewel, the 2022 World Cup in Qatar. If Messi were applying for a job and listed all of that on his resume, he'd get hired instantly. In fact, most employers would probably tell him he's overqualified, maybe even too old. They'd likely go with someone younger, someone like João Felix instead. That's the way the world works today. The point is simple. Messi has already completed the set with Argentina. There's nothing left to prove. And with that, the motivation to keep pushing forward naturally fades, especially if his body doesn't respond the way he demands. After the World Cup triumph, Messi himself spoke openly about his physical condition. If you compare today's version of him to the prime Barcelona Messi, the difference is undeniable. Back then, so much of his brilliance came from sheer explosiveness, those devastating bursts of speed that left defenders frozen in place. The question now is, can that player at nearly 40 still exist? Even if Messi makes it to the next World Cup, when he'll be 39 years old, no one knows if he'd carry on afterward. That's why many believe the match against Venezuela might have been Messi's last in an Argentina shirt. But I have my doubts. If you ask me, I don't think this is the end. Not even in the years immediately following the World Cup. Why? Because this isn't the first time Lionel Messi has hinted at walking away from the national team. One of the most famous examples came in 2016, after Argentina's crushing defeat in the Copa America final against Chile. Messi missed a penalty in the shootout, and shortly after, he shocked the world with a stunning announcement. "For me, the national team is over. I've done all I can. It hurts not to be a champion." Yet just 2 months later, Messi was back. He rejoined Argentina's squad for the World Cup qualifiers, proving once again that football was not done with him, and he wasn't done with football. Fast forward to the years leading up to Qatar 2022. In another interview, Messi didn't explicitly say he was retiring, but he did admit the tournament would be his final World Cup. Now, in his most recent comments, he's been more cautious. He's made it clear that he could keep playing, but it all depends on how his body feels. That's why I don't believe the last game we saw was truly his farewell. In fact, I don't even think we're close to that moment yet. Yes, critics will point out that Messi isn't as fast as he once was, that his consistency isn't what it was 5 years ago. But here's the truth. When people say Messi isn't at the same level anymore, they don't mean he's become an average 20-something footballer. Far from it. His decline still places him miles ahead of most players on the planet. And I'm not just saying that, the numbers prove it. With Argentina, Messi finished the qualifiers as the top scorer, with 8 goals, outperforming younger stars, even surpassing Darwin Núñez. Alright, maybe that last one isn't the biggest achievement, but the point stands. According to SofaScore, Messi was rated the best player of the entire qualifying campaign, with an average score of 7.98. And at the club level, his numbers are just as staggering. With Inter Miami, Messi has already become the club's all-time top scorer, 61 goals in just 74 matches during the 2024 season. And in 2025, he continues to dominate, standing as the highest-rated player in the entire league. Now, skeptics will argue, Major League Soccer isn't the most competitive league in the world. And that's true. But even with that in mind, Messi's numbers remain absurd. His performances show that while there may have been a dip compared to his prime, he is still miles ahead of most professional footballers. Which brings us to an important point. Messi still has enough left in the tank to remain with the national team for a few more years beyond the World Cup. The other reason this might not be the end? His style of play. As athletes grow older, their bodies inevitably wear down. And with Messi, you can see it. He can't press relentlessly for 90 minutes or sprint across half the pitch the way he once did. But here's the thing. Messi's brilliance has never relied solely on physical power. One of the secrets to his incredible numbers is his intelligence on the ball. With a single touch, a quick 1-2 with a teammate, or a perfectly weighted pass into space, he can dismantle an entire defense. He doesn't need to run endlessly, he just needs the ball at his feet. And let's not forget, Messi remains one of the very few players in world football where every free kick near the box feels like a genuine threat. None of this requires exceptional physical condition, and so far it has worked beautifully for both Argentina and Inter Miami. Of course, there's a trade-off. His minutes, and perhaps even the number of matches he plays, will need to be managed. Especially in a demanding tournament like the World Cup, where Argentina will face opponents who dominate possession. That's why the upcoming final against Spain could serve as a fascinating test. A glimpse into how much Messi still has to give. But let's imagine, for a moment, that all the stats, arguments, and strategies for extending his career don't matter. Let's say Messi really does retire. The truth is, the impact would be felt most with Argentina. Yes, Lionel Scaloni has built a solid, well-balanced squad. But the numbers prove just how decisive Messi still is. In fact, in their recent loss to Ecuador, a game Messi missed, critics immediately pointed out the difference. Argentina slipped in the FIFA rankings, and in that match, youngster Maximo Perrone became the youngest player ever to wear Argentina's number 10 shirt. A symbolic moment, perhaps, suggesting he could one day be Messi's heir. But the result told a different story. The team underperformed, and Perrone, despite his potential, couldn't change the game. As for what comes after football, Messi hasn't revealed much. What he has mentioned is a desire to remain connected to the sport, perhaps teaching kids, maybe even stepping into a role as a sporting director. So no, I don't think his retirement would be the catastrophe some predict. But Argentina will have to adapt. And more than that, the entire football world will. Because whether it's this year or the next few years, one truth is unavoidable. The Messi and Cristiano era is ending. Their legendary rivalry, an era that defined a generation, will eventually come to a close. Of course, new stars are already rising. Lamine Yamal, Kylian Mbappe, Erling Haaland. They'll keep improving, trying to fill the void Messi leaves behind. Maybe a new rivalry will be born. Maybe debates about the real GOAT will rage on with fresh names in the mix. Or maybe, even long after he's retired, Messi will continue to dominate that conversation, his shadow stretching over the sport for years to come. But for now, one thing is certain. The World Cup is on the horizon. And if you're wondering about Argentina's chances with Messi, I've already broken it down in another video, so make sure to check it out. The truth is, the impact would be felt most with Argentina. Yes, Lionel Scaloni has built a solid, well-balanced squad. But the numbers prove just how decisive Messi still